King Productions presents the BearDown Corner with your host, Sergeant Cornholio. Hey everybody, this is Sergeant Cornholio of the BearDown Corner. Welcome in to this week's episode where we're going to give you State of the Division Part 7 and a little bit of Around the League news as we dive into the offseason here at the BearDown Corner. All right, let's get right into it. AFC East. we're gonna dive into the Bills, some Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots side of the world today. So let's start with the Miami Dolphins. All right, so where do they go? They finished last season missing the playoffs. They had Tyreek Hill being a little disgruntled bitch in the offseason at year end, cleaning out their lockers. He basically came to telling the reporters he didn't want to be there, more or less. You know, he figured he'd be traded. That wasn't the case. So he rescinded on that. He apologized for that. Apparently everything's good in the hood with Tua Tagovailoa. I don't know what the hell they're doing, man. I watching from afar on their offseason moves. So they lost both their interior guards this offseason. So they brought in James Daniels as obviously an immediate replacement, right? He's a solid dude when he's healthy. He's coming off a big injury last year, but in his previous seasons leading up, you know, he started at least 15 games every year. So, you know, he's a solid dude. There's nothing wrong with that signing. He comes in on a 3-year deal. Larry Borum to help out the offensive line position. Sorry, he is a tackle position, more right tackle than left, but he'll be more probably slated to either take over or be a key backup somewhere along there, because man, they had a lot of injuries last year. Teron Armstead retired, so they're gonna have to replace him. I think they're looking more to the draft for that part, but I don't know, like just the moves they made. Like, okay, so Efitu Melifonwu, okay, he's a safety, all right, and started last year. The guy is basically just a replacement for their safeties they lost. This team lost multiple starters this offseason, and you know what, I can read names off all day, but what it breaks down to is simply this. The people they brought in were basically just replacements for the guys they lost last year. That's all it is. And there's no real movement that speaks to me, you know, franchise altering. That's the best way to put it. The moves you make in the offseason dictate where you're going to head towards come the season. Obviously, it's the beginning floor plan for the offseason. So when you're literally just bringing in depth guys, I don't know their contract issues. I don't really think they have a lot, but like you're paying Tua like top 10 money. So right there, you're in the position most teams are, but also most teams have drafted, replaced guys that way. Dolphins, I think, faltered off a little bit on that. They didn't really have some replacements in the wins waiting. Now, whether they're waiting for the draft to do that this offseason to address it, probably. But all it screams to me is they are no playoff competitive team nonetheless, though. They still have talent on that team, right? Devon Chain, you got Waddle over at number 2 wide receiver, Hill, right? Like you're not depleted there. They brought in Alexander Madison to help kind of be a depth running back, but they already got this other young kid as well. Like they have talent on offense. There's no doubt about that. Defensively, though, I like to call them as formerly the no-name defense, but they lost a bunch of guys, and now they're playing catch-up. So I don't see them making playoffs. They'll be a competitive team, but, you know, maybe they'll get lucky, suck so much they'll get a top 10 pick next year. Miami Dolphins not making it this year. New York Jets. All right. New York has been a clusterfuck forever. But when it breaks down to what they did this year, I like it. I like it in the terms of they're just trying to trying to stay low-key and bring in a culture that they hope is similar to that of the Detroit Lions as they hire Aaron Glenn, their new head coach and leader over there in New York. Darren Moogie was the GM that they brought in. Their moves haven't been anything spicy or anything, but you know what? Justin Fields on a 2-year, $40 million to replace Aaron Rodgers. I like it. I like Justin Fields personally, obviously as a Bears fan, but I think he's going to get his fair shot now. And it's going to be under the lights in New York, but that's okay because they have a lot of talent there. They do. They have a lot of holes, but they do have a lot of talent already there waiting, right? You still have Garrett Wilson. And for those that don't know, I picked up on the Jets exercise their right on Garrett Wilson's 5th-year contract and Sauce Gardner today or yesterday, one of the two. But either way, they now have those guys locked in for at least the next 2 years. They're going to probably try to re-sign them. But the hope is they're shifting in a younger direction. That's something I noticed with all their offseason moves, that they went younger, okay? They kind of cut ties with, Hassan Reddick, CJ Mosley, a bunch of these big contract payments that they just didn't need to make, really, with veterans that weren't producing at what they were hoping to do. So when you bring in a new head coach and you give him full reins, okay, well, Aaron Glenn basically said, sounds good. I'm your man. It was a shit show. I had other places I was checking into, but you know what? I like it. Let's build something here. So you get a young quarterback in Justin Fields. I believe he's only 26, going into 27, somewhere in there. He's a young quarterback still that if given the right chance, he's going to be a star. All right? He showed flashes in the pan in Chicago. He's going to be a star. So if this works out, now that I've had some time to absorb and digest the New York Jets offseason, if they nail this draft and Aaron Glenn brings over the kind of competition they did in Detroit, there's no reason that this team can't compete. They might not be playoff ready, but they could be mid-pack, then the next year be in the playoff hunt. If Justin Fields works out for them and you have Breece Hall playing up to his star level ability, you got that Allen kid that they drafted last year at running back. He comes into his own. So then you got a 1-2 punch at running back. Wide receiver, you know what? Whatever. Fucking open season. Let those boys fight. Let them fight. Because, damn it, Wilson is a great receiver, and he should be the number one in New York. He's been there consistently, day in and day out, never really bitching to what I've ever heard. Like, the kid is solid, so time to really lean on those foundational pieces now. If those are your foundation, then damn it, let them flourish and let them show you what they can do. Because you already seen what happened with the Aaron Rodgers failed experiment and all that clusterfuck. So I actually don't mind New York's offseason. At first, I was like, oh, we're going to be in for another shit show. No, not really. Like, they re-signed one of their own in Jamin Sherwood to a 3-year, $45 million. They brought in Andre Sisco on a 1-year, $8.5. He's a solid safety, right? They shore up the defense a little bit. They bring in their two, captains per se on offense, right? Justin Fields and re-sign Sherwood. They're keeping their young talent and exercising their fifth year options. They let go DJ Reed, who went to the Lions on a 1-year deal. Javon Kinlaw, he signed with Washington, so that was a bit of a blow. So, in the draft, you're probably looking defensive tackle. Tyrone Smith retired. He went and signed a 1-day deal with the Cowboys to retire a Cowboy, but he's gone, so they're going to be looking for help at tackle there. They lost their tight end in Ty Conklin. He went to the Los Angeles Chargers. Wide receiver, build through the draft for that. Because at this point, you know what? You got veteran guys at young age now in that locker room. And you brought over a few vets as well. Brandon Stevens on a 3-year, $36 million contract, right? Like you brought in some pieces, but you're not going the aggressive approach as years before. And I like it because they're just following Aaron Glenn's lead and Mr. Moogie, and they're just attacking it from one day at a time. Because this isn't a quick turnaround, but I think it can be a quicker turnaround than most people think. So, New York, I'll give it to you. You'll be a non-playoff team, but you'll be competitive next year, and I like the look of your direction in the future. So if you can stay the course, well, could cause some trouble in that AFC East. That could be a competitive division in the next few years. Because then we get over to the New England Patriots. Okay, so I say this because Drake May is now going to be entering year 2 after a very nice rookie season. Okay, that 4-year gap is now. So what do? They spend like dogs, but they don't spend frivolously. They spend smart. Mike Vrabel was brought in as the head coach for a reason with this team because of what he did and what he possesses as a former New England Patriot. All right, he has his ties to Robert Kraft. The man also has a certain philosophy where he was quite successful in Tennessee. Like, let's not forget, this man went to 2 AFC championship title games. He's no stranger to playoff football. He's no stranger to the regular season. He can get the job done. And as New England's bench boss, he very well might. In his first year even. Because you go out, you bring in a Harold Landry that you had in Tennessee, right? 3-year, $43.5 million. You bring in a Stephon Diggs, 3-year, $69 million. He's 31, coming off a bad injury, but hey, you know what? He can still play at an elite level. Landry can still play at an elite level. As long as these guys who you are signing can stay healthy. That's key number 1, staying healthy. But if they can stay healthy, this roster, like you got Robert Spillane from, he played the last 2 years in Raiders. He's jumped around a little bit, but he's really come into his own. This is a starting caliber linebacker. He's 30 as well, by the way. Carlton Davis, cornerback, 3 years, $60 million. Morgan Moses is not a sign now if you don't expect to compete now. The man's 34 years old. But you know what, though? If you sold him on coming in at $24 million over 3 years to block for this young quarterback, developing but still very talented young man, you give him a number 1 receiver, this team could be on the precipice. They're big signing. Milton Williams, 4-year, 104. This is all within that rookie quarterback contract window right now. So they can spend big now and hope that what they're going to re-sign Mr. Quarterback in the future to, Mr. Drake May, he's going to be able to replicate that. Because now they're banking on, okay, this is our guy. They've loaded up. They got the head coach. They're bringing back Josh McDaniels as the offensive coordinator. He's been like 4 stints or better with New England. They're bringing all the old boys back, within the last 10 years or so, and implementing a new culture and doing it Mike Vrabel's way. It's not the Bill Belichick era. It's not any of that. This is officially past Belichick. Unfortunately, Gerard Mayo got the shit can of the deal where he was kind of that 1 year in between guy. But you know what? There wasn't much they could do with that situation. That was built into his contract, and he didn't succeed. And even the owner, Robert Kraft, came out later and apologized because he didn't do right by Mayo, and even he acknowledged that. So the future now, unlike last year, is very bright for Patriots fans. As long as all the pieces can live up to why they signed them, and stay healthy. Because if not, you're going back to what you had last year, except maybe you're going to get squeezed more out of them because you're Mike Vrabel. That man has an ability to get more out of his players than they think they are. So I'm going to go on and say, with the new culture, the new start, I don't think they're going to make playoffs, but they're going to have a more even record this year. They might be in the playoff hunt, though. They might be in the playoff hunt. Pats, that's it. That's your part in the deal. Now we go on to the division champs, the Buffalo Bills. This one excites me. I really like what the Bills did this offseason, and if I could be, favoring for a team in the AFC next year, I know I did this year for them, but damn, they were close. I think they're going to the Super Bowl this year. Okay, and let me tell you why. So they let go of Von Miller and a bunch of those aging bad contracts. Just wipe it, right? And I don't know who the hell the cap guy is over there, but man, you crunching numbers, you're like a goddamn magician. Somehow, the Bills have re-signed in-house their core for the next at least 4 years or better, okay? Khalil Shakir to a 4-year, $60 million. Linebacker Terrell Bernard to a 4-year, $50 million contract. Defensive end Greg Rosano, 4-year, $80 million contract. Josh Allen got a new 6-year added to his already contract at $330 million to make him the new highest paid quarterback in the league. Like, they bring in Josh Palmer on a 3-year deal, re-sign Christian Benford, DB, on a 4-year, $69 million. Ty Johnson, backup running back, he's coming back 2 years. Like, Tre'Davious White is coming back to the Bills after he had a couple all-pro seasons in 2019 and 2020. But like, they're bringing back players from the past that had success there. They have their new future core now locked in. I don't see anywhere across the guys they lost, they just replaced. Or honestly, probably just let go because they knew they weren't the reason why they were able to get to that point last year. This team, if they don't make it to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to say win it because as a Bears fan, I want my team to win it. But like, legitimately though, they could win the Super Bowl next year. They should at least be in the game representing the AFC East. Josh Allen, James Cook, and that entire roster is ready to take their mantle. That is where they are at this point in their career. Josh Allen coming off an MVP season. Next year, he probably won't win MVP. Maybe he will. But either way, he would rather be hoisting Lombardi at the end of the year than some MVP of the league award. But if he does both, it would not shock me. This man threw on his back multiple games this year and won a lot of them. He's the only real guy and his team to beat the freaking Kansas City Chiefs regular season in 2024 here by more than a touchdown. All the Chiefs wins this year were by 7 points or less. There are only 2 losses to the Bills, which was really just their only loss by 10 points. Yeah, they beat them in the AFC title game. But honestly, that game, let's be honest, the Bills should have had that one. They really should have. They got screwed at the end. Just as every other fan will say, but they really did get screwed. But that's a whole conspiracy theory. The Swifties of the world, that shit's over with. We're entering a new era of the NFL. And I feel the Buffalo Bills are going to be a bit of that face. And that's not to take anything away from Lamar Jackson, but this week it's the AFC East. And I believe that it's going to be the Bills moving forward. It just, all signs point in that direction. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I hope it's some other awesome team that just burns from the ashes, right? Like, rise like a phoenix. But I really believe that Josh Allen and this team is primed for their Super Bowl run this year. So I believe the Bills will either represent or win the Super Bowl, AFC East, and the whole shabam, unless the Bears take it or some other team from the NFC. So in total, AFC East probably going to be dominated by the Bills this year. Pats are on their ass. Jets are waiting in the wings to hopefully turn that culture around. And I don't know what the hell is going on with the Dolphins. That's your State of the Division, Part 7. Next week, it is the NFC North, my division, where we will talk about the Bears, Lions, Vikings, and of course, the Cheesehead Packers. All right, a little bit of around the league news. We already talked about the Jets exercising their fifth-year options on the wide receiver cornerback DB duo of Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. The Falcons, here's a report I came across. They are wanting, here's part of their thing with trading Kirk Cousins. They owe Kirk $45 million. They want the new team to take on $20 million. The belief around the league is whichever team might take on that trade, which will probably be after the draft, is going to be maybe on the hook for 10. Like, I'm sorry, it turned into a shitty deal for Falcon fans, but at the end of the day, you're probably going to have to hold on to 35 of that. And Kirk Cousins walks away being able to collect more purse bank and maybe start again for a team. Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe? Eagles re-signed Cam Jurgens, offensive lineman, to a 4-year, $68 million deal. Damn, the Eagles are doing right by their guys this year, man. Their key components that they knew they were going to keep after their win, applaud. Because you've been re-signing and rewarding those boys. Saquon Barkley and the rest of them. The boys that needed to get paid or extensions or whatever, they're getting paid. So, congratulations, Cam Jurgens. Former Washington starter and current Seahawk Sam Howell could be on the move. There are reports of a lot of interest coming around of his services. Now, whether that's as a starter or a backup, everyone needs a capable backup these days, though. There's no doubt about that. You need a capable backup. Otherwise, you're just shit out of luck. Saints right tackle Ryan Ramczyk is retiring at 30. He missed all of 2024. He's just not getting there. He's doing what's best for him, best for his family, and calling it a day for the Saints. Ashton Gianti to the Broncos is most reported by a lot of draft mocks that I'm coming across. I don't know how the Broncos move up or maybe don't. Depends on, I guess, who needs a running back, right? Who needs that running back so good? This kid is calling himself a Saquon Barkley equivalent talent. That's saying something. If you think you're going to be that level of running back right out the get-go, and if the Broncos are to grab you, well, other than solving their running back issues, that's scary to think of. Because the Broncos have had nothing but what I found a successful offseason in addressing and improving the needs that they really, it's just a bonus at this point for them. They already had a top 5 defense last year. They have everyone coming back pretty much from offense last year that is worth coming back. And you're gonna get this kid. That would be something. So let's keep an eye on that on this week's NFL draft. The Browns also, to finish off around the league news, have said that if they drafted Travis Hunter, all right? Travis is a wide receiver DB, and he plans on playing both positions. The Browns have now said this week that if they drafted him, they would let him play both positions. First off, it's not because you necessarily want this kid to be a 60-minute man, but it's these guys really don't have a goddamn choice. They're so screwed when it comes to cap restraints and picking up, like, garbage, not garbage, but, you know, just dumpster, cheap bargain contracts. They gave all the money to Myles Garrett, and they're screwed on the Deshaun contract. they're going to have to let this kid play both positions. They got no one else. Like Nick Chubb, he'll be serviceable, but he's probably not going to be like he was previous if he comes back. Right? Jerry Jeudy at wide receiver, really. Like I like Charles Tillman over that Charles Tillman kid, but he's not gonna be a top tier flight player, especially when you're drafted at number 2 and you need a quarterback. And you need about 20 other positions because you got no one else. You gave all your money to the one guy. He ran off with it on fake injuries, and the rest of them are either retiring or the other half of the roster's injured. I don't know, Browns fans. I wish you luck. I hope that if Travis Hunter goes there, you somehow are enough spark juice for this team. Because, damn, man, the Browns were only a few years removed from being a playoff team. And now the fall back to reality. You know what, though? What is going to do it for this week's episode of the BearDown Corner. So I just want to thank you all for tuning in this week. And you can catch us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and of course, YouTube. We are everywhere. We want to be all places. And of course, with your support, we wouldn't be getting there. So again, thank you. Have a great week. And we will catch you next week here at the BearDown Corner.